everyone, it's Plastic EP here, and let me tell you, I've got a VIP guest from the UK, from Liverpool, Colin Hall. You've been curator of John Lennon's family home, Mendips. Now, what a fantastic job and experience that must be.
Must be one of the best jobs in the world. I mean, what other job can you have where whatever mood you're in the morning, when that door opens and people come inside from all around the world and they bring love and happiness and joy to be in that room, in those rooms, it just lifts the spirit. It's uplifting, and I end every day. I'm not walking on the ground. I'm walking on air. It's wonderful.
Don't worry, Colin, when I come to Liverpool with my wife, Vicky, we'll be visiting you there. And I know you'll look after us and take us around the home. I can't wait.
I will. I've been here. I've been waiting 20 years. Where have you been?
I can't help it. I'm still down under. The reason we're here today, Colin, is we want to talk about your fantastic worldwide selling book, the songs the Beatles gave away. You've got a forward done on the book by Billy J. Kramer. Of course, he's a legend. He got a lot of great Beatle songs, Bad to Me. Go through that.
Yeah.
What Billy's associated with the Beatles and how he got the songs.
Well, Billy J was, he's a Liverpudlian, first and foremost, and he just happened to be around and making it as a singer at the same time as the Beatles were around as a group. And they were emerging as this tour de force from Liverpool. But they weren't just a group. They had three guys in that band who could write, and two of them were hitting their stride at the very moment they signed to Parlophone. And of course, in those days, you never knew as a band, as a recording artist, how long you were going to last. I mean, the first question almost that any music journalist would ask any star was, what are you going to do when the bubble bursts? So John and Paul were preparing for them that day from the word go, really, by writing songs. And as Paul said, we weren't averse to other people singing our songs because that established us as a name, as a songwriting. So Brian Epstein was helping that, because he was building a stable of stars, of artists, other than the Beatles. And one of the very first artists, not the first, but one of the first that he signed was Billy J. Kramer with a group called the Dakotas. And Billy didn't write. None of them did, really. Jerry Marsden started to write, but Billy didn't write. So he turned to John and Paul and said, have you got a song for Billy? And originally, Billy sang Do You Want to Know a Secret, that had been written for George. But George Martin, the producer, thought Do You Want to Know a Secret was appropriate for Billy J's voice.
Do you want to know a secret? I'll be honest with you. Billy J. Kramer's version is better. Also, Bad to Me. I mean, there's no really opposition on that, but I reckon that's fantastic. I just reckon he had the right look, the right voice, and he was like one of them, being in the stable of stars with Cilla Black. And he just fitted right in. I reckon he was just the ideal person. And when he went to America, they loved him.
Yeah. Well, I think Billy J., the Beatles kind of nurtured him because they knew him and they knew he was he wasn't that much younger than them, but he was younger. And what I think is key is that John really liked Billy J's voice. And, they double tracked and they played with Billy J's voice, but he did have this great pop voice, this great voice for that kind of music. And they tailored, John and Paul, after Do You Want to Know a Secret, they tailored the songs, John in particular with Bad to Me, they tailored the songs to Billy's voice. And George Martin was savvy. I mean, he was the ace in the studio. So when they recorded those songs, I mean, they were Bad to Me and I'll Keep You Satisfied and From a Window. What great songs. I mean, the Beatles would have made great versions of those. And so I think there was a closeness amongst them, which wasn't there with an awful lot of people for whom they wrote songs. other than Scylla, maybe.
Late yesterday night, I saw a light shine from a window, and as I looked again, your face came into sight. I couldn't walk on until you'd gone from your window. I had to make you mine. I knew you were the one. Oh, I would be glad just to have a love like that. Oh, I would be true, and I'd live my life for you. You don't need anybody to hold you. Here I stand with my arms open wide. Oh, give me love and remember what I told you. I'll keep you satisfied. You can always get a simple thing like love anytime, but it's different with a boy like me and a love like mine. So believe everything that I told you, and agree that with me by your side. You don't need anybody to hold you. I'll keep you satisfied. Oh, give me love and remember what I told you. I'll keep you satisfied. The sun is fading away. That's the end of the day. As the June light turns to moonlight, I'll be on my way. Just one kiss and I'll go. Don't hide the tears that don't show. As the June light turns to moonlight, I'll be on my way to where the winds don't blow and golden rivers flow. This way I will go. They were right, I was wrong. True love didn't last long. As the June light turns to moonlight, I'll be on my way. You'll never know how much I really love you. You'll never know how much I really care. Listen, do you want to know a secret? Do you promise not to tell? Whoa, whoa, closer. Let me whisper in your ear. Say the words I love to hear. I'm in love with you.
Did John Lennon coin the J?
Yes, he did, apparently. He thought Billy Kramer wasn't on its own distinctive enough. And so he thought, what about just putting in an initial? We don't need to know what it stands for, but J. And he was thinking of Julian, his little child, his little boy that had been born to him, and Cynthia. So that's where it came from, I think, because Julian had just been born.
Now, I just got to ask you about the Foremost. They did the version of I'm in Love. How great was that?
Oh, that was a cracking song. Again, another one that would have suited the Beatles down to the ground. And of course, this is the point where John and Paul are songs are just pouring out of them. And it may be too many songs for the Beatles to actually record, but this is another one that the Beatles give away that would have suited them down to those beautiful harmonies. And the Foremost, again, one of the inner circle of the Beatles from Liverpool in those days. Quite often, if the Beatles were putting on a special show like at the Cavern, if it was a celebration show for them, the group that they would ask to support them would be the Foremost, because the Foremost were not only great musicians, but they were very funny. They were great impressionists. They could do all sorts of things, and the sense of humor bonded those bands.
I got something to tell you. I'm in love. I've been longing to tell you. I'm in love. You believe me when I tell you I'm in love with you. You're my kind of girl. You make me feel proud. You make me want to shout all around. There's no telling all my friends I'm in love. Every night I can't sleep thinking of you. And every little thing that you do. Yes, I'm telling all my friends I'm in love. When I see you every day I say, hello little girl. When you're passing on your way I say, hello little girl. If I see you passing by I cry, hello little girl. When I try to catch your eye I cry, hello little girl. I send you flowers but you don't care. You never seem to see me standing there. I often wonder what you're thinking of. I hope it's me, love, love, love. So I hope there'll come a day when you'll say, you're my little girl. Hello, little girl. Hello, little girl. When I see you every day, I say, hello, little girl. When you're passing on your way, I say, hello, little girl. When I see you pass me by, I cry, hello, little girl. When I try to catch your eye, I sigh, hello, little girl.
Now, I got to ask you, with Jerry and the Pacemakers, I mean, John even convinced Jerry to do a version of Hello, Little Girl.
Well, I think maybe that came from George Martin and Brian. I think Jerry Marsden was a very strong personality, very strong individual. And I think he wanted very much to make it. I mean, I don't know because I'm not Jerry Marsden and I'm not part of that scene at the time. But I think Jerry Marsden was such a strong personality, and that Jerry and the Pacemakers were such a big band in Liverpool, that they wanted to make it on their own right. And so, in a way, for Jerry, how Hello Little Girl was a bit like How Do You Do It for the Beatles. They didn't really want to release that song, so they do a lackluster version. And I think Jerry does a lackluster version of Hello Little Girl because he doesn't want to make it on the tail coat of the Beatles. He wants to make it on his own.
That makes sense. That makes sense. He wants his own sound and his own songs.
Oh yeah, I think so, and proves it. Because he makes How Do You Do It? He makes that a cracking single. It burst with energy. And
yeah, I know, but I can say with the Beatles handing him a demo of their version, he's got a great start.
He's got it, but he will add some magic to that single to make it his own, distinctive. That's very much a Jerry sound.
Now, Colin, with the new book, right, I want you to go through some of the songs and some of the artists and just give a synopsis of the book now to everyone out there, because we all want them to go out there and buy the book.
Well, my brand new book is the songs the Beatles gave away, which is a hardback book. And I'm really proud of this book because it's taken me so long to write it and put it together. And essentially, it is a book about singles that were released during the lifetime of the Beatles, not singles that came after or songs that came after the demise of the Beatles as an active unit, as a working unit. So it's all about the magic decade, the 60s. And it's all about artists who are lucky enough to be gifted a song by John and Paul mainly, and one or two by George, that the Beatles themselves did not record or release. So they may have recorded it, but they didn't do anything with it, or they only recorded a demo. or they just didn't record at all beyond an acetate to give to an artist to say, well, we've written this for you, so take it away and do with it what you want, such as World Without Love by Peter and Gordon.
Of course, a great song.
Back in the day when, they are touting their songs, as Mick Jagger said, they were hustlers. They hustled in those days. John and Paul, they hustled. That's how we got I Want to Be Your Man. They were hustling. And we needed a song. We needed a hit song. So we were happy with that. And
I think John Lennon told Mick Jagger, well, we weren't going to give you an A-side, were we?
No, but they put some Elmore James into I Want to Be Your Man. Wow.
I know, but I'm saying the song went to Ringo. It's not like it did John.
It did go to Ringo, but the Stones proved that in every Beatles song there is something that is quite special, and they found that. The Stones found that, and I think they eclipsed the Beatles version. But it's a matter of taste and choice, isn't it? Some people love the Ringo version over the Stones, but hey, it's a great song in its own right.
Is it true that they wrote the song for Helen Shapiro, right? From the Please Me album, and it went on to her manager, and the song was called Misery? Is that what really happened, or do you know any insight into that song?
Well, once upon a time, not that long ago, I spoke with Helen in Abbey Road, of all places, and she said to me, I was a young girl and I knew nothing really of what was going on in the background with management, because that's the way it was.
Got it.
And I think the management thought that Misery was the title for a start, But it's an upbeat song, as we all know. Misery is an upbeat song, but just the title of it, and it didn't get beyond. Just being a thought, a mention, and it didn't get to Helen. She knew nothing about it until John and Paul mentioned it when they were on tour with her as part of her package tour. But it did get to Kenny Lynch, who was on that same tour.
Exactly. And I just want to say, if you're watching this show, Helen Shapiro, you're before your time, and being associated with the Beatles. I mean, the Beatles loved you too. The world loved you, and I just want to pay so much tribute to you. You are a superstar, Helen. I just want to say that.
She was before the Beatles. I mean, she was a young girl, and I mean, being a young girl singing star when she was to survive in that industry was something else. And she had a cracking voice and personality, and she was there before the Beatles. and had scored big hits. I mean, really great songs. So what can you say? Unfortunate for her, really, that beat boom came along, but still out there making music. When I met her at, she was there for. They were re-releasing a lot of songs from the music from the '60s, including Helen's stuff. And
but I like she did that Beatle clip with the Beatles on Ready, Steady, Go, and the Beatles are there. 3 of them. John, Ringo, and George. Paul wasn't there for her song.
Yeah. No, but they, John, Helen said to me, John kind of took me, he was protective of me on that tour. He was lovely.
Now tell me other artists and what songs they got from the Beatles. Let's go through that.
Well, I mean, if you wanted to do it chronologically, we could be here all day. But
no, I mean, just pick out some of the best.
Well, some of the best, obviously. After Billie J, and the foremost, you've got Cilla Black, who we've mentioned. She started off with Love of the Loved, which, as she said to Paul, this isn't a new song. You were singing this down the cavern. But she started her career with that song. But they went on to write specifically for her. And after she hit the top with a couple of Anyone Who Had a Heart and You're My World in the UK, she came back to John and Paul came up to her with a song they had written, crafted especially for her and her voice, called It's For You, which is another cracking song. And you can hear, that they're writing for Cilla. And of course, later, Paul is going to come up with Step Inside Love as the theme tune for her TV show, the very first female artist to get her own television show in the UK. And he came up with this wonderful song, Step Inside Love, where she's inviting the audience into her space. Not reaching out to it, but inviting the audience in to create that intimate atmosphere, which was a marvelous idea. But Step Inside Love is a beautiful song and beautifully crafted by Paul. Then the other big artist, I guess, obviously Peter and Gordon with A World Without Love, which Paul had written, I think, when he was 16. And I'm sitting in a room here on Menlove Avenue in Liverpool, which is just a few doors down from John's house, because I live just a few doors down from Mendips. And when I look out the window over here, I'm looking over the golf course that separates John and Paul's houses. And they would sometimes take a shortcut across this golf course. And Paul said it was walking across that golf course, which I'm looking out on, one night, and feeling a bit worried, dropping dark, got my guitar, wondering what's out there, started to strum like crazy to frighten off anything, and came up with these words, please lock me away. And so at 16, he's written this song, and John wasn't too keen. But Paul, being Paul, never forgets a song that he's got, and he's got it in his head. And when he went to live with Jane Asher and her family in Wimpole Street in London, and he meets Peter Asher, who's got a duet a duo going with Gordon Waller.
That's all right. Just say that line again. He's got a duo going.
Yeah, and he meets Peter Asher, who's got a duo going with Gordon Waller, and they're looking for a song for their debut release. Paul remembers the song he's written on the golf, walking across the golf course, A World Without Love, and he finishes it and gives it to them, and bingo, worldwide #1. And you can't say it's the beginning of folk rock, but there's a lot of people, a couple of the Byrds, listening to that record, and they're going to go on and create a sound all of their own. And Peter and Gordon's World Without Love is instrumental in their thinking of the sounds they're going to make. So even at 16, Paul is ahead of the game. The Beatles, they're still the Quarrymen then, but the Beatles, Paul, John, as writers, composers, are already writing songs that are going to influence and change the roadmap of popular song. Brilliant. They're brilliant. And anyway, that's one of the songs in the songs the Beatles gave away. And Paul went on to write. He basically built the early career of Peter and Gordon with Nobody I Know and I don't want to see you anymore. And then he kind of stopped writing for them. They continued to have hits, but he came back to them with a song. He said, listen, people are saying that, if our name, Lennon-McCartney, is on a song, it's just a hit. It doesn't matter what it is. And he didn't like that because he felt the songs stood in their own merit. So he said, let's have a little experiment. And let's put out a song. Let you and Gordon put out a song.
That's a song. That's a song, Woman, isn't it? He put it out as Bernard Webb.
That's right. He said, I've written this song. Let's put it out under the pseudonym of Bernard Webb. And of course, it was a hit. And pretty soon people found out it was Paul. But he proved his point. And I think Gordon Waller always said that was his favorite song that Peter and Gordon sang. And I think Paul always said, when I first gave that to them, there was a stripped down version that they did. And that wasn't the version that went out there, but that's the version I preferred. But the record company, the producer, decided a bit more produced version should go out. But Gordon Waller always loved that song. And it's a great song. It's another great McCartney song. And by then, John wasn't quite so, they'd made their name. They didn't need to give songs away, but Paul still liked to help and liked to write for others.
Please lock me away and don't allow the day here inside where I hide with my loneliness. I don't care what they say, I won't stay in a world without love. Birds sing out of tune and rain clouds hide the moon. I'm okay, here I'll stay with my loneliness. I don't care what they say, I won't stay in a world without love. So I wait, and in a while I will see my true love smile. She may come, I know not when. When she does, I'll know. So baby, until then, lock me away. And don't allow the day here inside, where I hide with my loneliness. I don't care what they say, I won't stay in a world without love. Woman, do you love me? Woman, if you need me, then believe me, I need you to be my woman. Woman, do you love me? Woman, if you need me, then believe me, I need you to be my woman. And should you ask me how I'm doing, what shall I say? Things are okay, well I know that they're not, and I still may have lost you. Woman, do you love me? Woman, if you need me, then believe me, I need you to be my woman. I hope you'll take your time and tell me when we're alone. Love will come home, I would give up my world if you'll say that my girl is my woman.
The songs did they give out, Colin?
Well, John has stepped back really from doing that because, as I say, you know, they'd achieved the teenage ambition, which was to be the British Goffin and King. That's what they wanted. They wanted to emulate their heroes, and by the mid-60s, they'd more than done that. They, you know, everybody was clamoring to record covers, but it was still something to get a record that wasn't a cover, one that John or Paul or John and Paul had written specifically for you. And it was Paul who kept that. It was a bit of a trickle by the mid-50s and beyond, but Paul kept it going. And he would write instrument. He wrote, he gave Thingamy Bob to the Black Dyke Mills Band, brass band in Yorkshire. Wonderful brass band, the best brass, I can't say it, the best brass band in the world, really. He gave them Thingamy Bob, which was the theme tune to a television series in Britain. And he gave an old instrumental from way back, or cat call, to Chris Barber, well-known legendary jazz figure in the UK. But I guess most significantly, you'd say he gave Mary Hopkin, whose career he had nurtured, had started with, did Those Were the Days, and it was massive worldwide. I mean, it was at number one forever, as I remember. But she needed a follow-up, you know, because it's always the follow-up that kind of secures that career. So Paul wrote Goodbye for Mary Hopkin as the follow-up to Those Were the Days, and it was only prevented from getting to number one by the Beatles themselves with Get Back. So a cracking song. And, you know, she went on to have quite a few hits on the Apple label, International Star. And I guess most famously, whilst writing songs for others on the Apple label, he wrote Come and Get It for Badfinger, which really established them as a band, recording artists, and gave them their career.
If you want it, here it is. Come and get it. Make your mind up fast. If you want it anytime, I can give it. But you better hurry, 'cause
Now, Colin, I've got to ask you, this fantastic worldwide selling book that you wrote, The Songs That the Beatles Gave Away, that's the one. Tell everybody where they can get it from.
Well, this book is published by Great Northern Books, who are based in Bradford in Yorkshire. And obviously they have a website, www.gnbooks.co.uk. And if you go on their website, you can buy this book. And I think it's $19.99, and you can buy it from them with my signature. Okay. And it costs nothing extra for the signature.
Is the book available on Amazon and the digital retailers yet?
Oh, yeah, it's out there on Amazon, definitely.
Colin Hall, I want to say you're a legend, a rock and roll legend in your own lifetime. Being an author, as I said, being custodian of Men Dips, I take my hat off to you. You're such a great person. And I just want to thank you so much for being on the Plastic EP show.
Well, listen, you know what? It's my privilege, because you're such a welcoming person. You know, you make me 10 years younger. So I'm the same age as you now.
So I won't tell them our age. But thank you so much for being on the show, Colin.
Yeah, well, a privilege. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Everyone go out there and buy the book by Colin Hall, The Songs the Beatles Gave Away.